Lila, 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 lila.
Lila, lila, lila,
Lila, lila, lila, lila, lila.
lila, lila, lila,
Lila, lila, lila, lila, lila.
lila, lila, lila.
Oneness. 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 No more division among the children of God. No more division between Christians and Muslims. No more division between Muslims and Hindus. No more division between Hindus and Buddhists. No more, no more what? No more division among traditional worshippers and whoever. No more division between Akans and Ewes and Gans and Yorubas and Anumbas and Concubas. No more division among all the creations of God. Simple but beautiful. This is openness in faith and time mission. Ancient of this temple. Yakopado and Shebishiadi. Topic.
Lord AYASS speaks on the topic, the spark of enlightenment and the decaying seed.
Good. The spark of enlightenment and the decaying seed. It doesn't make sense for now. To make later. The spark of enlightenment and the decaying seed. Can you be a when you enlightenment, when you be enlightenment, the young cast when you do before. Enlightenment is understanding who you are, your relationship with God. That's enlightenment. And then the decaying seed. And if you have a pro, this is the topic. Let's go.
We all know that before a plant is grown, a seed is buried under the ground. We also know that any living thing buried dies. But why does the seed which is buried not die, but rather metamorphosize into a plant with sometimes fruits? The decaying of the seed can be termed as suffering because its initial nature is thwarted. The irony of this is that when we benefit from the plant, its seeds and fruits, we forgot how the seed suffered under the ground.
Oneness. 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 My name is Lord AYASS Baba. Then person me tell say, and sana be biaba, let be you. Na yesie ebiaba. It's buried. Yesie. It be the direction from my yesie. Bibia ewo nkwa odwan aboa bia sabe nipa what the chef from our head say oh sorry I didn't say biaba there what the chef from one year of protective na wasan sorry ya do na hoda say biaba na chef from na pro na tetea na efifi eyedua na ye mango na ye tidi ya bibido so de mango na na hahan duro na ye noma na ewure frise biaba na pro wasasa so ana no wa mana akwanya mango a wate de okase biaba bi le pro asa de we but you even remember that be that se bibi pra say ye man so obi sabi previous obi watch bi na the baby say ya brema it's a soft aduaba na ekosha asase na ase it's soft if you say nyankopon si aduaba na kasa na say so it goes through the process of suffering but you want to first step yes second step.
Let me give a typical example. Before a newborn baby begins to see, it goes through partial blindness, and this is suffering. The moment it starts seeing, no one remembers the suffering.
Yes or no? Ya wa kwada ho hu na de be kwa. Suffering, sabi hu na sabi suffering. Na emom e woman ni na eden ati. Eni te na ye o tene ni na obo nzam. Na wa yese no asere keso timi hu na de. Wo ma amene papa no we fi say your baby passed through partial blindness, which is what? Suffering. But what you say? Next step.
Another classic example is a woman who delivers. She goes through a lot of suffering for 9 months. and she will be no more her real self. Her real self dies, and this continues into labor with much more than suffering. But does the woman remembers the suffering after delivering the baby? No.
No. So next example, wow. Oba ona ne ba bombo a no aye white. Na wo sere na akwa Sunday ma ko danya mi ase. Mumusa maame no. 9 months. Obikura wonyema. Enim bi egosesa. Na no ketekete etimbe akakraka. Obieta kase pa na bi mu kanye. Na adisfigure no. Na nante nyina asesa. Mumbisa maame na wawo no se kama na onyeme no tinda na kusumebo a ya wonyema de kusumi enhwe. Upo wumpo nche wachi. Ebi mpo ma fusu ama nche wo kampo ne ho bi. They went through suffering. When you actually for one, they stand between life and death, suffering. For we are, nobody remembers the suffering, including the woman herself. Yes, or no? Another example and golden point.
The most critical moment in the life of a spiritual student is the last gap to get awareness and to be instated as a self-realized being. This critical moment is what I call the spark of self-realization.
Hello. Topic in the spark of enlightenment and the decaying seed. It just say is that just like saying the spark of self-realization. Hello. We'll be a spiritual student. Same way, and come more be out and I explain why. What person will come, then listen carefully. Nyama wusua nyina bedroom baby no na wadu point bia won sabe ka bibi amwanya spiritual development enlightenment muti the last moment and sana won saka sasam you go through a lot of suffering sadia won sabe ka no and reference a spark of realization or enlightenment. Just before you be getting some small sufferings, just before BBC. The question is, how would you know? Say this particular one is my last gap. I keep on telling you, say, I'm actually journey to the west and say, Mokaya. In one of the scenes, the Bodhisattva who wanted to be the Buddha, because in Buddhism, when you reach Bodhisattva, the next stage is you become a Buddha, the enlightened one. Buddha is not the name of anybody. It's a term for anybody who is enlightened. So the first person to be called Buddha was what? Sakyamuni Buddha or Gautama Siddhartha. And you do Bodhisattva now, and so we do Buddhahood. Then to the west. Omokosia mpelifoni nyina afi hu se wawie no ka ye de busi na ma. Ano ne the date no bono ba no sa adre no ka fa na sembu. Shefo. Ano ne shefo protect no monam no ho. Shefo. They were happy. Omonam wiem amokwa na gurus say na ya kire say Bodhisattva asimasi. I said, go through how many tests and trials? I almost 100. No, but I'll go through 99 Jacababo. Or Conan from a boy. And I will see the songs. Meaning there's a last gap trial or test. That's all what's happening. Yeah, shy Diablo. It is a pure spiritual teaching movie. Who knows if yours is 10, if yours is 5? Who knows how they are handling? Be answering it. Men show be. Hello? As
the seed decays, before it finally germinates and grows into a fruit yielding plant, and as a woman suffers during pregnancy and delivery before she finally gets a baby, so does a spiritual aspirant decays before the spark comes.
Sadia biaba kwasha mo me pura ansa na biaba a wakunya amango ne pe ne hwan abomedi. Sadia oba nyima obra ansa na wawa me ani agye. So sanso na while on the spiritual journey, you will decay, you will suffer before the spark comes. Yes or no? You can't, you can't see it in the bois. But mama, pure example. Your mammy for more Hannah, Mamma, media growing a move the sound, or making problem who fail. Our one problem from that one we understand. Like I said, we'll be on one general on your move will be at Mangona will different and if you say, be a baby there, every employers. Everything in the world, physical world, has a link to the spiritual world.
This realization comes with a lot of spiritual ranks and special gifts we call Makami, and Karama in Islam. It is for those who have been promised or seen great things in their spiritual practices, and this doesn't come easy. The decay or suffering comes at the threshold of finally diving into the realm of achieving what one has promised.
Hello? Spiritual enlightenment like, comes with two things, Makami and Karama in Islam. Islam. Makami is your spiritual level. Karama is a spiritual gift. You do a high level past spiritual, but you man the gift of speech. So bekasa, into one kasa. But level no one, the 2 million per day. You do a healing gift by the level in you. So the also level only healing. So there's Karama and there's Makami. There's Makami and there's Karama. But Makami is the level, Karama is the gift. But how much difference is that? I don't know, still me can or one. Or man who be do money so die. And I want to say the devil eliminate. That is why nations and the gas it's not for everybody. So I person come one, then aspire for something. The open who are great to be an one and think of a process barrier. It doesn't come on a silver platter. So you go through the process of decay or suffering. Now at the threshold, the final gap, what they didn't mean. So the screw, share is an account. Open crank. One casacra or sacrago. Screw components was with the piano. It took final point now. Near, so screw near the Quebec said, Ajish. Or also now, I'm tight here, but yes or no. These examples are there for spiritual aspects that the impressive. Hello? But this is the law.
No one ever believes in this promise, but before it is made manifest for the person to finally know and accept, this process of decay is inevitable. But the question is, how would one know?
Me and I who send me say nobody believes in it, yes or no. Nemo ansana ebeba ni panagia tumuno. The person has to go through this process of decay. It is inevitable. What do you mean party that? But the first question is obedience that this is part of the decaying or suffering process. How would you know? If you don't know, in Islam we say Alhamdulillah. Everything Alhamdulillah. Some me share that, some man share that. I don't know why this thing has happened. Alhamdulillah. Why am I sick? I didn't sick as someone person. And I'm more problems. And I will say, Alhamdulillah. Especially as a special aspect. Who knows one of those things? And trust.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9 says, what has happened before will happen, and there is nothing new under the sun. So the stories and life of past enlightened beings should serve as guidelines for all of us.
Guidelines, yes. You wouldn't know, say we're a part of it. So how would you know? Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. There's nothing new under the sun. What has happened will happen. It's a Moses, no matter now, so much. So David, at a point, I saw Lukuna, you're ready. A better one guy. So Jesus went through suffering, Muhammad went through suffering, also better. What has happened will happen before your trust.
We only dwell on the esoteric stories of these great people, but hardly do we pay attention to the process of decay or suffering they went through. It was not easy, as we think.
Go. Oh, eno Mary. Now, Hong Kong Banyan Sen or Warrior, eno Mary Batampaneko. Yo, Khadija, no Pumuma. On a white prophet Muhammad, man, we were fine. You, but what I said. And Moses, no years, no years, no day where my bones human by Moses was a great man. And Jesus could heal, could walk on the sea, could talk, could do everything. Jesus is brutal. We only dwell on the esoteric aspect of that. I mean, only the spiritual aspect now about bonding. And how they got to the top. You knew and I impress you. And instead of being a software, and it's sorry, you are supposed to say they are poor, or supposed to say Peter. Go and ask Peter and Paul this example as a Christian. Go and ask them. If you are Muslim and you want to be somebody, go and ask Ali, Muhammad Prophet himself. Go and ask Abu Bakr. Go and ask Hamza. Go and what they went through. Even Sheikh Ibrahim Anyal, go to Senegal now and ask the troubles he went through. Interesting.
Prophet Muhammad.
Good.
Jesus the Christ.
Good.
Nation Daishon.
Good.
Mahabata Babaji. Shri Mataj. Mary the mother of Jesus. Aisha the wife of Prophet Muhammad. Shri Anandamurti, etc. All face decay or suffering, both internally and externally.
What is it? Is a more question. Problem when Muhammad cool. Problem when Shri Mataji cool. I will allow you to go and read problems, sir. Mahabata Babaji cool. Let us have your problems, sir. Shri Anandamurti cool. Go more problems, sir. Satya Sababa cool. Munko kind. Munko say jollof and a butter. They face problems both internally and externally, at home and outside, at workplace, with friends, in their temples, in their jagrities, in their mosques. They faced problems. Interesting.
No pain, no gain is the motto for spiritual growth.
Good.
The spark of enlightenment is preceded by decay.
Or suffering. But some will do 3 months. If on a spiritual path, by Sadaka, I 3 months. When you're not better, would be the up. You're not for 4. And I'm a boy. Mungina bread. You know our own story. Even Jesus said, a jabaya then you crew a film so like as I had a yet. He said it. Also, can be. I mean, when you go here, Papa went to Junior and Anya Munibu. Yeah, kind of photo. Yeah, kind of ya. Whom you are the women's on at the mouth. One non hour they can say, will you want a boa? It's not only one I said, is it? But when you go through so much suffering, this is what you think and say. Yes or no? When you go through, somehow can you on a market, man? Who choose here now or drink a boy and goes into me and one payment to when some are quite and down our sins on a boy, you be subject or yare until you find some when you're there. You don't see it this as a favor. The ensign can that your cassette here, even the source of our life. You are not a sadaka, you are not a spiritualist. As Islam will say, Alhamdulillah. Everything, Alhamdulillah. We mean, chase assembly. Once, when you're Tia Senior of prayer, and pray. So, when whom be a yachawa a mood, let that thing be your water and our share. Last school as here, Charles will say, and jet, obey class 6. So on class 6 are on my boy. But classes was in my real school less than 2 months, or sample JHS1 or targeted JHS 3. Boy, we are also then my real school is better than SS channel. A common better no, who have a punishment in school 3 years and our rate. So on customer just school one. I want to castle more years for some better later. But throughout all this, so by send the punishment, so come back to say, baby, of cigar, say, look, move. Or target is so baby SS. Yes, blue. I didn't say, yeah, the young target is at the year. That's simple thing. abrabomun sensem, then we lose sight of that. God is permanent. God is there. Extract what He wants to. He will give you what you want every moment, but it doesn't come on a silver platter. A spark of enlightenment is preceded by decay or suffering. Mention that shortly. Now we're a second Buddha, the enlightened one. Everybody was what? Aware. Hello? But one day, when you buy some when you are say, a secretary, you beheaded completely. You did not call Tasmakuchi. You didn't shadi num. You paid your kumano. You be trapped. And I can't hear a tree like that. Nipa na wɔyɛ saa no wɔnim sɛ n'ani fɛ wɔntumi ntwa ɔna mo bu ɔmo sɛ papa wei ɔyɛ obi wɔ na yɛakyɛw sɛ na woyɛ nkyerɛkyerɛ obi anim sɛ woyɛ obi na asɛm wo ɛkɔto a am sɛ wobɛtwa ne aka sɛ dɛ meka na no boɔ it is easy to say that so at the threshold of sɛ ɛbɛhu sɛ he is truly a Buddha wahu de si na Buddhists are chanting Nam your horrendous, Nam your horrendous, Nam your horrendous. Forgotten what the originator of that mantra or prayer went to. Yan will be an to wood ya and Yawsham. Could be so by the second child, a dear share. Who could any get the one put the or kitchen now, will be a more. Or by no one without no word much. No, by no idea, not for sure. Some examples we can have you. So when you come to spiritual life, it is worse. They say then, very worse. Roman first I know Mary Assumption every year, beautiful. For one about journey from Israel to Egypt on foot. And you're suffering now. It's the both of the catchings and the work all our base in the air. And then she could have and I Joseph na then, I Joseph Sicahon, and I Papa then. Obeka sasa ni ra be husa na bambe busa na mo ba wo ka sem bi ansa was married in some near them so when we hear them let's also remind of ourselves of the problem they will go through. No pain, no gain in spiritual life. There is no free gifts from nature. Amen.